Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Two Average Brown Bros podcast. I'm your host, Prashank,
And I'm your host, Andres.
and today is October 4th, 2021. Andres, what's happening?
Well, man, what's happening is that I am swamped with schoolwork, catching up with classes, making sure that I'm learning everything as I'm supposed to, plus assignments. So just, things keep on piling up. But other than that, it's the last couple of days over here. The weather has been pretty weird. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's raining. It's a little bit all over the place. But other than that, still enjoying life over here as much as I can. How about you, man? What's up?
So pretty good. Agrima was here for the last couple of weeks, and she got to see Ottawa and enjoy it. The weather was pretty good for the most part. It rained a couple of days, but sunny for the most part. She, went back today at the day on the day of our recording, so I'm kind of sad. But uh, that's part of the long distance relationship, I guess. Hopefully it won't be long distance in the coming months. One of us can move, but that's always another long process. But you know what? We just gotta take it slow, day by day, Like I think that's been our motto since we started this podcast, just take everything day by day.
That's that's just honestly, the more we get into those days that we like living up north, the closer we get to the end of the year, the less sunlight we have. I think that's the best motto to go. It's just like living life day by day.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that you brought it up, you're absolutely right. It's getting darker a lot faster, and I'm not a huge fan of that because I do love the sunlight. I love the heat, so winter is coming.
Oh my god, every single time you said that, I was like, no, let's put a pause on that. But I mean, I guess time keeps on going on. But at least so far, we're just gonna enjoy the weather. We'll see how it goes. So yeah. Other than that, what did you learn this week?
Nothing too big because I've been, focused on trying to find a place, and with Agrima here, this week has had been hectic because I was scrambling to find a place, but last minute I did find a place. Right now, I'm living off a futon and a desk in a house in the suburbs in Ottawa, but I guess that's just survival mode right now, so I'll be here for the next couple of months. But one thing that I did learn, amidst all the chaotic chaos, one thing I did learn was that so if you have, cider is made from apples, what do you call like alcohol beverage that's made from pears? Do you know?
uh, isn't it also a cider, but it's just per base? I was gonna make a joke and call it a pider, but
Um,
wouldn't it be a cider also?
it probably is, but I was reading that it's actually called a Perry, Perry.
Ooh, that sounds
Yeah.
very cute. It's a cute name.
Cider from pears, Perry. Nothing too fancy, nothing too big, nothing too, brain digging, but that's something I learned this week. What about you, Andres? What you learned this week?
What did I learn about this week? Well, I'm not gonna bore anyone about with school stuff, but school was very interesting. The more we get into the epidemiology of it, the more interesting it gets. But we'll leave it to that for school. Outside of that, I learned about I've just been watching. I think I've mentioned before, but there is this YouTuber that I constantly watch. His name is Johnny Harris. He actually used to work for Vox, and he was the one doing the Border series for Vox, which was pretty cool because I love geography. So now he does his own thing, and I was watching some of his videos in terms of now he's gonna do a documentary series about Cyprus, and I've always been interested, like kind of like just general thing. Everyone like when you think of Cyprus, you think of like there's just one island on the Mediterranean close to the Middle East, but actually it's still like a zone of conflict. So I went into a rabbit hole, like I usually do when I'm learning about something. I went into a rabbit hole and trying to understand what is going on with Cyprus and how it's divided, the buffer zones, what the UN intervention has looked like over there. So yeah, That's what I learned about this week. But then it got like super like, there's a lot of conflict, and I'm just like, I don't need this energy right now. So then I ended my search.
That's exciting, and I definitely want to hear about that more in the future. So there might be an episode on Cyprus in the future.
That sounds good, man. I'm down. I'll just have to do probably more research about it, but it's pretty interesting.
Well, today one of the things I wanted to touch about, so many topics we have upcoming, with Thanksgiving right around the corner. We'll get to that in next week, and other things such as people have been sending us topics to talk about relationships, friendships. We'll definitely talk about that in future episodes. But today I wanted to focus on, emotions, right? We all go through it, and especially with you and I having to move, start school, start new job, having a long distance relationship for me expresses them, everyone feels them differently. So I just wanted to, talk about how we deal with it, whether it's happy, sad, mad, and how we deal with even things like stress, in our everyday life, long-term stress, short-term stress, just emotions overall.
I'm always down to talk about emotions. And, just to get us started a little bit on that, as men, we're taught not to do that. And I'm here to debunk that. So I'm ready to talk about it.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad you brought that up because we are men. And I think throughout our life, especially coming from those countries where, men are supposed to be the steady, non-emotional, stoic kind of people, I feel like you and I are both more of the emotional kind of people for sure. And I think that goes against our what society brought us up, our society bringing upbringing versus what we feel. I think for me definitely it clashed over time, and as I've grown older and I've been more, I think I'm becoming more emotional, whether it's one way or the other. I definitely feel myself as one of the more emotional people I know, and whether that's going against my upbringings in the society where men are supposed to
Oh,
be more stoic, but I think it does help to release those emotions.
oh, absolutely. And I know, you know what? It is, I don't know, like, I mean, the patriarchy has done that to us, but it is true. There's always that stigma and that, societal pressure that as men, we're not supposed to talk about our feelings. But I'm glad that you and I are on like the other side of the spectrum and we're okay about it. And not even just talking within like man to man, but we're open about like from knowing you for a long time now. We're open to talk about that like with other people. Like it's not like we shy away about like our emotions around other people. Uh we're pretty open at that about them. And like you mentioned, it's good to release them. Just even, you know, I like to see it as like a pressure cooker. If you don't release things, at the end of the day, that thing is gonna explode. And I don't want that. And it's like it's nice once like I don't know if it has happened to you, but once you start talking and kind of like how you're feeling, your mood and all of that, there's like even though like some of those stresses are still there is like a sense of like, okay, at least it's out there.
Yep, yep, absolutely. And that's a really good point because you don't want to build up emotions, right? Like, and I feel like that's why a lot of like conflicts within yourself, within other people happen because you pent up all these emotions inside you. Even happiness, right? Like, of course, you want to share good news with other people, and if you just pent it up, you can't give yourself, you can't boost your self-esteem. Like, if I'm going through something happy, I'd rather share with someone, have a little boost of self-esteem rather than keep it to myself and just like let it sit there.
Yeah, I know. And I think it also helps like when it comes to I know like when it comes to talking about them, of course you're like it's not like we're like talking to everyone, like to a stranger of like, hey, this is how I'm feeling or this is what the mood I'm in. But honestly, I felt like whenever I'm stressed or something and I talk to my support network, we'll touch base more on that, what that means. But whenever I talk to those close ones that I trust with that information, it is just nice because then like that they know how you're feeling, and then there's not that like, oh my god, you should have known. part of thing is like they know now, and like if they can help you, they'll help you out. So that's always a nice thing.
Yep, exactly. And another thing I've also learned, it doesn't even always have to be, we'll get into this, support system, but like it doesn't always have to be a person that you need to, go to necessarily. But just even journaling, like I don't do journaling myself, but I know a lot of people journal their feelings, their emotions away, and it helps. For me, growing up, one of the biggest things that helped me, just to take a look at myself and realize, oh, my emotions actually matter is like when I first created Twitter, Twitter was my personal journal. I like literally tweeted everything that came into my mind, good, bad, whatever. I put it out there. And of course, at those times, not many people had Twitter, so I didn't have to worry about, my close friends or like even family just reading into my closest thoughts, I guess. It was more of a fake Twitter, and like a Finsta, I guess, these days. But just having some kind of place to write down your emotions or talk to someone that helps out in so many ways.
Yeah, man. And I understand. And I think there's so many ways about to go about coping. So I guess we've touched base a little bit on everything that we're gonna cover today. So we're gonna talk about that thought of, you know, we'll delve a little bit more into what it is to be a man and have emotions. We're gonna talk a little bit more of our personal strategies on how do we cope with them, because we all have emotions, we all have moods, but what does that have look like for us, and how we cope with them. And then also talking about what support means and what that support network goes about it. So let's start. Where do you want to start, Brishang?
How as a man, how you express your emotions on this, like how do you put it all out there?
Well, I think as a man, like we talked already, the expectation is not to show them. Like a man crying, sure, no. Not even by yourself. Like even if you're by your own, you're still expected not to do that, and you're supposed. There, like the phrase, right? Like man up. Like just as simple as that. But for me, kind of like when it comes to expressing my emotions, I try to do it in a logical way. Or like for me expressing emotions can be just a symbol of like, just being like, I need to vent right now. I'm not afraid. Like depending on the circumstances, I know like I am pretty like I like to say that I am someone that is aware of the social atmosphere, the context, the circumstances. So also I am it's not that I hide my emotions, but I am mindful of when can I express them, and when is the not the best moment, but when is the appropriate moment for me to show those emotions, and surrounded by who. So for me, when it comes to expressing myself or letting me feel what I feel, it's just when it feels like it's the right time and I'm surrounded by the right people in order to do that. So either it's me, laughing out loud. Like at this point, I really don't care if people get annoyed by my laugh because it's a very loud laugh. Uh, like I just like if I'm feeling happy and everything, I'm just gonna show it off. Um, and same like if I'm like for me personally, when I'm on like the other side of the spectrum and I'm feeling a little bit sad or a little bit upset, I do try to keep that to myself. But then with that, it's just like I know like I don't want to ruin people's mood, or people's like whatever we're doing if I'm like on like a sad mood. So what I will do is like I will rather retreat myself. I will like try to be by my own to work through those emotions. I like, and I think that comes to personally how everyone deals with them. But me, when I have to deal with more on like the sad emotions, uh, or stressful emotions, I like to do that by myself, give myself some time to understand them, and then be able to work through them. But that's basically it. I'm not afraid of expressing it. I'm just like mindful of my surroundings when it comes to that, and that's not like out of like societal context. It is from my personal context. I know when it's better to do it in a certain way. I know how to read the room. How about you, buddy? How do you express your emotions as a brown man?
Yeah, for the most part, I think it is hard, right? Because like going back to the initial conversation, the patriarchy doesn't help us because it wants us to be sturdy, dependable men. But that's not saying, those types of men aren't emotional or vice versa. You can be both. Like it's not. mutually exclusive. So I think the way I express emotion for the most part is, especially growing up, it was a lot harder because I was more reserved, more shy. As I've gotten older, I think I'm more expressive in my emotions, whether that's good or bad. I think sometimes it can be bad, but other times it can be good. Like, if I'm feeling a certain way, if I feel like someone's hurt me or someone's wronged me, I'm really not afraid to tell them, and be like, hey, this happened. But sometimes it does, if the other person is more argumentative, it can get, or you're having a heated debate about like politics or religion, sometimes it does get, out of hand. And obviously you have to realize when to tone it down. And I think, like I said, as I've gotten older, been able to do that more. Even if I am a little bit more expressive, I can tone it down. I can realize, okay, this isn't helping, let's go back to where that is helping. And I think that's the best part about expressing your emotions is, for the most part, it is a therapy, some sort of therapy for us, where you're putting it all out there, but there's a point where you say, okay, let's reel it back.
Exactly. And I think that's the point, right? It's just like we're not saying no, do not express your emotions. I mean, everyone like, and I think for that is like like we both have different ways of expressing it, right? Uh it's just, you know, like we like saying you do you, but when it comes to emotions, there's a little bit of part, and I think you brought that point is like being a little bit mindful, right? Because when it comes to expressing emotions in front of others, you never know. Like it's not like you shouldn't be worried about being judged about your emotions. It's more about like how people might take it, or if it's the right circumstance to express such emotion, and I think that comes a little bit with not only growing up but really like understanding how to deal with them. And I think as men, I think part of that growing up and understanding our emotions is, like we said, like you need to express them. And you, other than that, then you just become like this person that people either think that you're cold or that you don't have any emotions. And like honestly, I don't know you, Krishan, but as a person of color, as a brown person, I like expressing. I think it's like part also of my like kind of like even though culturally I'm told not to express emotions, also culturally I'm put in a spot like we're a very expressive society in Latin America. So I feel like not the need, but like I just grew up expressing when I'm like super happy and I'm excited, and I do little happy dances here and there. As like literally as I'm saying that, I'm doing happy dances in my chair. But it's just there's just also that aspect of like culturally as there's like things that contradict each other, and that we're like no, don't do that, but then also like you should express like smile more and things like that. Like nobody should be obligated to smile more, but it's not bad to express your emotions. And like it's like an indirect of letting people know, like if I can read your like you're in like not having a great day from your body language, then it will also help others to kind of like how to address you in a certain day, right? So if I read that you're happy and everything, then I'll like the interactions might look different. But then if I look that you might be a little bit stressed or anything, then of course I'm not gonna come at you with like a bunch of energy because yeah, I can read that you're doing like you're dealing with like something or there's something stressing you. So won't put you in a situation where now you have to deal with like this amount of energy.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's the best part about not just being able to express your own emotions, but also read other people's emotions, right? So like if if you notice your friend is a little bit quieter than usual, you can be like, hey, what's up? But if they're happier than usual, you can be like, hey, what's up again, right? Like just different ways about going about it. Like if you notice they're a little bit more sad than usual, you can find a way to reach out to them, versus if they're happy, you can share that happiness with them.
Exactly. And I think that brings us to kind of like that part of when it comes to expressing your emotions, right? Like, yeah, there's different ways to express them, but then there's also, it's not just expressing them, you know? Like, and there's just some of those people is like, oh, this is how I'm feeling, so people have to deal with it. Uh, I'm the kind of person like, okay, yes, you're feeling this way, but also, how are you gonna deal with them personally? Like, you cannot just put, let's say, a classic one. You cannot just put anger out there and then expect people to know how to handle you when you're angry, right? But on that, it's just like how on the other side of that coin is like how are you gonna deal with them? Like how are you gonna process those emotions so that you're able? Because if you just put them out there, but you actually are not dealing with them, then you're just doing part of the work. You're not doing the entire work. How do you feel about that?
Yep, no, exactly. Like, most of things in life is a two-way street, right? You have to give some, but you also have to take some. So just like that, emotions, it has to be both ways. So I absolutely agree with you.
Right. And I think like that's where a lot of people get confused. And there's just that misconception that everyone should know, like, everyone should know how to deal with someone on like on a bad day. And part of it is like it's true. Like we'll and I think that's the new part of like um that some people are being taught. Definitely we were taught about a little bit later on, or like we've just been more a little bit more intuitive, but that emotional intelligence, right? Like knowing how to deal with things emotionally and how to deal with our emotions and other people's emotion. And I think more nowadays it's more of a trend and something that people speak a little bit more about, like how to be emotionally intelligent. But there's people that they just are like, I don't care. Like people have to deal with like my attitude all the time, which also is not the case. Like, I think that's also back to the point of like growing up and maturing with your emotions is knowing that uh, acknowledging that your emotions can affect others. So on that is okay. So how are we gonna deal with this moving forward? And I think once again that's uh, when we get into those societal norms that once again we bring it up back to being and identifying ourselves as men, right? It's like okay, you have emotions, now deal with them societally. I'm pretty sure for I don't for many it's just like, well, as a man you just don't deal with them, you just have them, and then for the lack of better terms you suck it up, and you just walk and make it through. There's no processing, there's no analyzing, and societally we've been taught that. But realistically, it makes things worse because if you're not dealing with something, it's gonna come back to bite you later on.
Yep. And, you know, I think that's a pretty good segue um, on, how we deal with emotions, whether you talk to somebody or you write it down. And, for me, I think one of the best things is just reaching out to your closest friends. Um, you know, whether you like it or not, I think people that are close to you automatically know how you operate and how you feel. They know your baseline normal. So if there's something wrong, they can usually like sense it right away. So and same with you to other people. If you hang on a lot with other people and you notice, hey, this guy doesn't seem like himself, or this girl doesn't seem like herself today. How can I help?
Reaching out to those that know you, and that's part of like what I mentioned before about that support network is who are those people in your life that you can trust with that information, right? Like uh people don't usually trust everyone with certain information, right? So who is it, who is that person or those people that you can reach out to and just to even talk through it. And that's something about having, like, it's not like I have a bunch of experience, but both of you and I know, like, working in residence for our, like, as a students, and in my case as a professional and just as human beings in general, there's something about talking that it is very therapeutic. And just as humans being, like, I don't know, I find like just by the process of talking, like once you hear yourself walking through and like thinking through and talking through those emotions, you start realizing things. There's definitely a power um, in terms of talking that really, really, in a certain way, helps helps out with things, just because things can get difficult at times, but talking is just so powerful. And I think you're absolutely right, reach out to those that know how that you trust the most, because also with emotions you just don't want to go to a random person or someone that you don't know you can trust, because then that could also have an impact on the way that you deal with them after, or moving forward, kind of like uh, how they how they can perceive you, or like they're like certain people like maybe you can be pretty close friends, but when it comes to dealing with personal things, they just don't know that they can't help out with that, because they're just not at that capacity to help you out, and that's completely fine. So that's when we mean about trust, is those people that you can trust that are able to help you, to be there for you in those situations.
Yep, exactly. And let's say, you don't have anyone close to you that you really trust in that way. There's so many other ways to go about that. Number one, a professional to help you through those emotions, right? Like therapy. I know that's becoming a lot more prevalent these days, and you know, it does help. And especially that's another stigma that we need to cut through as immigrants, or society where back home, back in Nepal, if you talk about mental health and therapy, it's like, oh, it's not, nothing's wrong with you. You're just going through a phase or whatever. But that's not right, because even quote unquote healthy people need, I feel like they need to see a therapist, because there's so many unresolved emotions and feelings that we have inside of ourselves that sometimes you just need the professional help.
Yeah, exactly. That's and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Uh, if it happens, it happens. If you need professional help, uh, that's what some of us have to go through at times in order to sort things out. But it is for the best. It's for your best interest. And I think when it comes to emotions, it's like what's best for you, not what's best for what other people are expecting.
Exactly. Yep. Don't spend your energy and time on what other people will think of you, but spend it on yourself, and how you can be more forgiving to yourself in regards to your emotions.
That is absolutely right, buddy. So you personally, besides talking to people that you're close with, what are some other ways that you deal and you process your emotions?
Yeah, I think talking to other people definitely is my number one, because I'm a social introvert, I guess. Like, I do like my downtime and stuff, but I definitely need people around me, to keep me from going crazy. Like, since I have been moved, since I did move to a brand new like province and place, it has been a little bit tougher, because making friends when you're older is definitely hard, right? You can't just go to the university library or the university bar and just meet people, or and once you're working, you're pretty much working full time, and it's really hard to make friends. So having that support system, like, close friends, girlfriend, family, is big, big for me. But like you said, besides that, I think, for me, I do love writing, and professional reports is a little bit harder, but when I just write on my website or on Twitter, I don't have to worry about grammar, spelling, or anything. I can just write and express myself in so many ways. And I think just doing that, and even a little bit more beyond that, just I think for me, go on a walk to clear my head definitely helps. And growing up, for me, walking has been such an important thing. Just, it's so simple, but it helps in so many ways, because it gets you physically away from whatever your troubles could be, right? So if you're worried about something, you can literally walk away from it. And of course, sometimes it's easier said than done, but it is a physically, mentally, and emotionally, it does help in me in so many ways. How about you, Andreas?
I guess for me, in terms of it, like I said, talking is such a powerful tool. But other than that, for me personally, there has been times that I've gone to therapy, and I'm not ashamed of saying that. I think at the very beginning of it, I confide just to a couple of people that was something I was practicing and something that I was doing for myself. Um, and we can get later on when we talk more in another episode about mental health, kind of like what that journey looked like. But it's something I highly recommend, and it really really helped me out to sort a couple of things, to really understand who I was, and like kind of like behavior wise and emotionally, kind of like to understand why certain days I feel certain type of way. So absolutely, for me, going to therapy has been life changing. And I haven't even been doing it for that long. So I'm very grateful that I was able to attend and to able to have an amazing counselor. So therapy is one of the main things in a way that I was able to express my emotions. Just because of that, it's someone that honestly doesn't have an agenda with you. And I think that's what was really helpful for me, was like, this person is really helping me, for me to make the best decisions for me, and to make me realize and process my emotions the best way. They just want me to be able to process what I'm going through. So that's one way that personally, when I've had to deal with big emotions or very stressful things, therapy has really helped me a lot through it. And then another one, for me, just something that just distracts my mind from things. So for me, either that's going out for a run, um, completely distracting myself. And for me, it's been amazing to have Sherlock, my little puppy, with me. Because then I'm just like, you know what? I'm super stressful. We're going for a walk. And just like, just there's just something about having a pet and just them being themselves. It's just so cute and adorable. That takes your mind off of a couple of things when dealing with some of those emotions. Um, so that's been amazing. And like, just like I said, being active. So lately, being having been doing so, with the move and school and everything, still sorting things out. But going to the gym, what like is such a therapeutical thing for me. It gives me something else to focus on, something else to try to set goals for, something in where I can channel the different energies, right? I like the different emotions I'm going through. Because a lot of these things sometimes we just put until dealing with our negative experiences and with our negative feelings. But there's also a thing to say about like how to process some of those big happy emotions, right? So in terms of that, when I'm feeling like super super happy, when it comes to the way I use the gym, if I'm having like super happy and I'm having a great day, then at the gym I push myself a little bit harder, because I know like I have the energy and I'm mentally strong to kind of like push myself to do harder things, right? Whereas like when I'm feeling upset or when I'm feeling sad or having a low day, going to the gym is just a distraction, and I'm just like, you know what, for an hour and a half, I'm gonna have to think about this. But when it comes to dealing with those happy emotions on like that side of the spectrum, same like going for a walk, but going on a hot walk with like happy tunes, or it's like just like you, both of you are very similar, and I think our listeners have caught up to that. But I'm also kind of like a social introvert, or like an introvert, like an extrovert, like an introvert extrovert. I think that's the right one. It's confusing, but like I love being an introvert, and I become more of an extrovert the more I get to know people. But just with that, like with that specific circle, in general in life, I'm more of an introvert. Um, but with that is, like if I feel like, oh my god, I need to share something with people, or I need to share how like the emotions that I'm feeling right now, it will be hanging out with people and making plans to like go somewhere, have dinner, just go and hang out with people. But that's just kind of like the way I process things. And it's very nice to have that nice little toolkit of things you're able um, that you're able to do it, and that it is quite it is nice, especially depending. And I like, for me, I layer it up, right? So if it's like a small, like what I will call a small emotion, I will do like a couple of things, and then there's some bigger, like for example, going to therapy, for me is like one of those toolkits that helps me deal with bigger things that are out of my that I need someone to help me out with, because it's just too much to process by myself. But then for little things, I can just talk with friends.
Yep, and one thing that I've realized as I've grown older is when I'm going through like whatever emotions, I do not like to be alone. Um, Sometimes, it's just that I am alone, but I'd rather, have that group of people or the trusted friends that I can talk to and, just be like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, how should I deal with it? And, although they might not always have the answer, it's just nice having someone there for you. That helps a lot, I think. And, like you said, we're so happy to hear that therapy is working for you. And, we definitely, if you don't have anyone, or if you even if you have people, I think therapy is something that we should all strive to do more.
And it is just such a powerful tool. And like I mentioned, we can go more into the delve of it and explore more of that journey. But I think, I think for me that was a big breakthrough, especially as like being a man. And yeah, sorry, we keep on bringing it back to that, but it is true. Like as men, there's that societal. I cannot talk. That societal pressure of like having to deal things a certain way. And I think as a man and as a person of color, there's just so many different layers to that. It is just, I think it was a breakthrough moment in which I decided like to break that barrier that was just like, no, uh, like there's no reason to go to therapy. And then there was just a point that it was just getting too much, and it was just like honestly, it was a breakthrough moment. And just like, you know what, I don't care what other people think about it. This is what I need in order to be able to move forward. And I think that's the part about dealing with emotions, how um, dealing with them in a healthy way. I think both of us have pretty healthy mechanisms and strategies to deal with it. But with that, we also have to face the reality that uh, not everyone deals with their emotions or what they're going through in very healthy ways. And I think that's also a reason to check on people that you're close with and be mindful of it, and if you know they're not going on a healthy way, kind of like guide them to deal with things in a more of a healthier way, just because that can get dangerous very really 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 quick. Because there's very dangerous and not great ways to also cope with emotions. I know Brishang and I, we try to keep it on like the optimistic point and on the healthy side, but that's just because both of us, we are incapable of doing that. But I there's other people that might be struggling to figure out what's a healthy way to deal with that one.
Absolutely, and that we can definitely touch up on that, in future episodes because that is an issue and that is a huge part of problem that faces, pretty much most people that we know, right? Not everyone knows how to deal with emotions, and some definitely do it the not so positive way.
I know, and it can get really scary, right? And it just becomes a vicious cycle, and that's definitely another kind of worms that we can open another day. But honestly, what like if you're gonna take something out of Prishang and I talking a little bit about how we process our emotions and what it is like to talk about emotions, is you know what? If you're feeling some type of way, reach out to people. Um, Sit down and try just to think and be like, what am I truly feeling? And I think that's like one of the big questions that for me has been life changing is like whenever I'm feeling a certain kind of way, it's like, what am I feeling and what happened that made me feel this way? And with emotions, I try to avoid a lot asking the question why, because a why question is very broad, right? And like as humans, we have that ability to always ask the why questions. But when it comes to emotions, I personally have found it that is really hard to answer that why question. So for me, it's a lot easier to put it on concrete terms because a why thing can be very abstract, right? But when you ask the what, the hows, the whens, they're very concrete answers that can guide you a little bit better. So I personally, when dealing with emotions, another thing I do is sit down, think about them, but then avoid the why question. Like, why am I feeling this way? I rather breaking down is like, what is it truly that I'm feeling? how did it happen? When did I start feeling this way? What was I doing in order to start feeling? What was happening in my life that made me feel this way now? So I like to break it up down a little bit more than that. Um, but that's just me personally because I just don't like asking the question why.
For me, one of the things I've also noticed is, you know, when I feel sad or happy, or most of the time, there's more of the negative energy. I ask myself, can I do anything to change this going forward? Because I think that kind of breaks it down. If you answer, yes, I can do this going forward and I change it, well, great. You can work towards that and, change it in the future. But if you come up with an answer saying, no, I can't really change anything, I did what I was supposed to do and it didn't turn out how I wanted. But then that's where you realize, okay, since I can't do anything different, then maybe, that wasn't my fault. That's just how it went. And, going forward, like it won't affect me as much, right?
Exactly, exactly. I think that's also a good point. And I think we touch base on it, like we mentioned, like that support network, and that is knowing who you're gonna reach out to, and that can be personal and professional people. Um, you know, um, uh, when it comes to personal people, just keep in mind everyone has an agenda with everyone, even though if they say so that they don't. Uh, they do. Everyone has an agenda because at the end of the day there's our relationship, and that's kind of like for me when that's when the professional help comes in, is they don't have any particular agenda in your life, right? They're just there to help you navigate through some of the things that you might not be able to see, because when that's the other thing with emotions, right? They blind you. I don't know if that has happened to you, Rashid, but definitely for me, whenever I'm feeling a certain way, it blinds me and it changes my perspective on how I feel about things and how I look about things. So that's kind of like when it comes to talking to personal or professional supports, it's they help you see things that you haven't noticed, or you just been in another times avoiding seeing because because of the emotions you're feeling at the time.
Yep, absolutely. You're absolutely correct about that.
All right. Any other things you want to cover, Rishang, about emotions?
I think, just knowing when to express them and how to read emotions, because, emotions are part of body language. So, if you're feeling some kind of way, but you still have to go somewhere, you know, make it so like, people aren't assuming that you're mad at them when, even when you're not mad at them, or, when you're, how you convey, your emotions. Um, they are a big, big part of body language. So, if you have to go somewhere to support your friend, be engaged, but also don't be afraid to, if you are engaged in your own emotions and feelings, don't, and you have to go somewhere, see someone, don't be afraid to, just back out of those plans sometimes, because sometimes you just need your own time, to relieve your emotions, relieve your feelings, because you know what? You always come first. You, you can't really be there for others if you're not there for yourself first. And sometimes, you need to let others be there for you to allow yourself to be there for yourself as well.
It's absolutely. I think that's the best part to do it, is like you also have to be on a healthy, like on a stable place in order to offer that help.
Yep, that's exactly right. And you know what? Always find that support system, whether it's with your family, friends, a professional, or journaling. There's so many ways where you can express yourself and not feel judged.
Absolutely true. So, Rashang, what are other ways that you've heard that maybe personally you don't do, but maybe if we put them out there, they might help someone that's listening to us. So, what are some other ways that you've heard people deal in a healthy way with their emotions?
Journaling, that's a big one, especially in the last couple of years. That's becoming so big. And if I wasn't lazy, I would definitely journal more. But I guess I have my website where I write my emotions and stuff. Um, so kind of a journal. I know people, they love to color, like coloring books and stuff. Like it's not expressive, but coloring in a way it is very therapeutic. It does help. Whether you're feeling, mad or sad or happy, it definitely. you can put it all out there along with the lines of coloring. Definitely like some kind of artistic, whether it's drawing, drawing emotions, or writing a poem, or writing music, or making music on your guitar, drums, whatever it is. Definitely, there's so many ways to express emotions through arts that a lot of people do. And another one, another big one that you know, that I've heard from many people and I really want to get into, and you touched upon it too, just going to the gym, right? Like going to the gym is so helpful for so many people because you can put it all out there, you can go all in, and not only will it help you emotionally, but it also helps you physically.
And that's the thing when it also comes to emotions. I like just talking about that is when you're doing honestly when you're doing something that you truly enjoy, physically it also has an impact on your life. So mental and physical health go by hand by hand. Just saying it.
Absolutely. If one is slacking, the other one is definitely slacking sometimes.
Or everything. But I think we've covered a lot of things right now in terms, like, I mean, like we usually say, we can keep on talking about this for long periods of time. But I think we can end it up on this note of like different things that people can do. There's just so many different outlets, and honestly, when it comes to dealing with emotions, if there's any hobby that you actually truly enjoy doing, or something that distracts your mind, that's the best way to go about it. But I think we can end on that note, and letting go anyone in this world. um, you expressing your emotions, there's nothing wrong with that. And just as men, as you've been hearing us talk, it's not bad at all to talk about your emotions. Like, society has put some pretty weird rules on us, so don't get caught up on that.
Yep, absolutely. Like don't let society define you. That is cliche, but it is true. Like, you live for yourself and your loved ones and the people that you care about. So, be healthy, not only physically, but emotionally as well.
That is very true. But other than that, we'll move on to our last segment if you're down for that.
Of course. So, Andreas, what are you looking forward to this upcoming week?
What I'm looking forward for this upcoming week is the Thanksgiving break, just because, I mean, I remember my undergrad years, and we used to get this thing called November break, which was just a nice, relaxing time. We don't get that here, but we do get a couple of days off around the Thanksgiving long weekend. So I am very excited for that. Don't know yet what I'm gonna do for it, but I'm just excited to just have a couple of days to either catch up with school, like still do like some light schoolwork, but being able to catch up with it, and just relaxing and no pressure of like schedule or going here and there. So I'm excited about that. Still enjoying the autumn and the colors. The leaves over here started changing finally. So I'm very excited to, honestly, probably during that break, I'll go out into the city and explore the different spots and take lots and lots of pictures. I love taking pictures. And honestly, my Instagram has been lacking content. So I'm so down for to getting some more. I'm excited. I don't know if I told people or if I've mentioned it on here on the podcast, but our public health class has a soccer team. So lately, like, we've been playing soccer, so I'm excited. I'm excited about that. We'll see. The first game, my knee kind of gave up a little bit in one of the moves, so I think I'm old, but I'm very excited to like have back again, getting into sports and getting into intramurals, which I think um after undergrad, that was something like, yes, I did go to the gym, but I think sports, what like playing sports, was actually something that I still miss. It's not the same lifting heavy stuff compared to playing soccer or playing sports with friends. How about you, Prashant? What are you looking forward for this week?
Absolutely. Like you said, Thanksgiving in Canada is just around the corner. So, looking forward to that. Not sure what's going to happen too much, to be honest, because now I'm not living with my parents anymore, but my brother is still here. So, we might do something for Thanksgiving if he's down. If not, gotta do it solo this year. But other than that, like we have been talking about, fall is coming, so definitely fall colors. It'll be nice to get out. Definitely enjoy the Canadian Eastern fall.
I'm so ready for that.
Absolutely. So with that, as we wrap up this week's episode, you can always reach out to us on Instagram or Twitter, talk to us about your emotions, talk to us about your feelings, or literally anything, our DMs are always open. Whatever you want to talk to us about, we'll listen.
That is absolutely right. But thanks for listening and tuning in with us. I hope this was a little of a helpful conversation for everyone listening to us and give you some that you come out with it with a couple of tools on kind of like how you can deal with things over in your personal life and just continue going about it. But yeah, other than that, I think that's thanks for tuning in. And where can they reach us at, Prashant?
Of course. So if you have any comments, concerns, questions, or crybaby stuff, don't be afraid to reach out to us. I know I say crybaby stuff, but nothing is really crybaby stuff. That's just if you have any complaints about the way we speak or talk or anything, just reach out to us. That's all we ask for. And you can reach out to us at the 2 Average Brown Rose Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, or our personal DMs. And then, let's talk.
Absolutely, man. That's very, very true. Yeah. Other than that, we'll catch all of you next Monday when it is Canadian Thanksgiving. So I'm so ready. I can tell you this. I'm very excited to like actually have Thanksgiving during Thanksgiving. So we'll catch you all on Thanksgiving. Bye.
See ya.